Hi everyone, thanks for listening. Be aware that there are some sound problems with this video, but they do clear up, so hang in there. So I just wanted to talk to everybody. Brady had that idea of everybody talking about the thing that scared them most when they were young, which
Mm,
I think is a really cool idea. So I know that you had a really interesting childhood. You grew up in the South, right?
yes.
And it was a devout Catholic or Christian family?
Devout Christian raising where you hear tales of witchcraft and contracts with demons and such like that.
My God, that's incredible. I mean,
Yeah.
what kind of Christianity are we talking about here?
It's the religion we grew up with was Nazarene. It's kind of basic Protestant, it's very close to Methodist or possibly like Church of God, something like that.
Okay, but all of the spooky stuff, all of the supernatural stuff. I mean, was that
Yeah,
part of
I mean,
it, or was that your mom?
well, that's just part of growing up in the South in a really
Oh,
old town. You hear all kinds of ghost stories, all kinds of, and especially I lived in the Bible Belt. It was super. I mean, everyone I knew was Christian. Not just talking about all my friends. I mean, like everyone in the town
right, right.
was Christian, and so you would always hear like rumors and stories and stuff of and when I say witchcraft, I mean they considered like the Little Mermaid witchcraft. So it's like any sort of magic whatsoever, you are signing a pact with the devil. Um,
Can you, sorry, Monica, can you just bring the mic a little bit further away from your mouth?
yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
So, were you forbidden from what? But I know you watched horror movies with your mom or scary movies with your mom.
Yeah, there was a fine line there. I wasn't allowed growing up. I wasn't allowed to watch a lot of movies that had like magic or anything. I wasn't even allowed to watch Sword of the Stone stuff like that as a child because it had magic in it. Harry Potter was
I'm
a
sure from the
cursed
devil.
subject. But me and my mom would watch a lot of scary movies, and it was kind of a fine line of deciding which ones were the okay ones. Generally, if like witches or demons are portrayed as the bad guys and are being defeated, meanwhile, not having sexual content or language, that was okay to watch,
So,
which limits your horror films quite a bit. So.
give me an example of what you were allowed to watch.
I mean, we watched Rosemary's Baby.
Oh, but
Uh,
they're not defeated. That's the most disturbing
they're
ending.
bad guys.
They are the
It's
bad guys, but
it is overly depicted that they are evil. Um,
okay. Yeah, it's pretty.
you can't justify the magic. Justifying the magic is that whole slippery slope logic.
Oh, I
Uh,
see. People who use it. So people can't use magic to defeat evil. That would
yeah,
make them evil.
you use the power of God to defeat evil.
Well, that's not going to get you too many horror movies, will it?
Yeah. No, but me and my mom, she really likes, and growing up in a really old area in the South too, you hear a ton of ghost stories. So mostly what we watched was like ghost stories, ghost movies, stuff like that. She also really liked just monster flicks.
So
But
funny that she
because
was
of
into.
where I grew up, like I said, like the witches and demons and stuff like that were epic to me, and ghost stories were the huge ones because those were almost they had a level of being reality because it was just I guess local folklore stuff
Hmm.
like that. So those were always those, and to this day, those are still my favorites: ghost stories and like occult movies and stuff like that.
And is that one of the reasons you liked Crimson Peak so much? Part of it.
I do, and especially like I don't know the old dilapidated town, the old house, the family that just know like used to be powerful but has just been beat by time kind of stuff. That's the whole South.
Right, right, right. Oh, that's
That,
interesting. I didn't think
that's
that could have been Crimson Peak could have been set in the South and it would have sort of
yeah, they
worked.
really could have.
Just wouldn't have had the snow. So,
Yeah.
do you remember? So, your taste in horror is partly from where you grew up and partly from your mother.
Hmm. Definitely,
Yeah,
my mother. Yeah, she we used to watch horror movies a lot, so she kind of gave me my fuel or my passion for horror.
interesting. And so, can you remember what movie? It could be anything: movie, book, TV show, music, painting, any media that you encounter. Can you remember what the earliest one is that
Yeah,
really?
actually, I can. And
Uh,
Crystal knows of this because she found it out by accident because she made a noise of one of the creatures when we back when, like a long time ago when we were roommates in college, and she just like jokingly made a noise, and I started crying like right in front of her because I was so terrified.
wow.
Um, and just recently, I've actually gotten over this fear because my boyfriend made me sit down and watch it again, and he's like, "This is not how you remember it at all.
Mm,
Like, it's ridiculous."
yeah.
Gremlins. I
Wait,
saw it when I was so young. I don't know what age exactly, but it was just at the age when I knew what evil was, but still didn't quite grasp that Gremlins was a funny movie. Like
hmm,
I was really young. I mean, I think it was before first grade that I saw it,
right. Which is
but terrified me. And then just from that day on, I could not look at a gremlin, like a picture of it or anything. Like even in college, I was people would like we had a friend that had a tattoo of a gremlin. I couldn't look at it. I couldn't do it. And even chihuahuas scared me for that reason too, because they remind me of gremlins.
so okay. So how? First of all, one of the things about Gremlins that I've heard is that they made it PG, but because it was marketed, it wasn't marketed as really a horror movie, and that a lot of parents were really upset when it turned dark. They brought their kids. Was it that kind of a situation?
The first one, no, I think my mom's sadistic and she just wanted me to watch it. She loves to scare people.
Well, wait,
But
wait a minute.
why she let me watch it? She does that stuff. Like she's the person that when you're watching a movie with them and she knows there's a scary moment, she will like boo and like jump and scare you just because she thinks it's hilarious.
Your mom sounds like a real character.
I should tell you sometime about a slumber party I had one time with her. Oh my god. But no, what was the question again?
Well, so Gremlins, your boyfriend had you watch it recently. How
Yeah,
recently?
a year ago actually. It was right before we moved to San Diego, I think.
And what was what was your reaction to it watching it now?
At first, I still was initially scared, but it did. I mean, especially because he didn't make me watch the first one, because the first one actually still does border on horror. Like like you said, it was pitched as kind of a comedy, but in actuality, it was pretty dark. While it had a lot of really funny moments, it was pretty dark. But the second one was just all out comedy.
Yeah.
And so he had me watch the second one, and then later I went back and watched the first one, and I was okay. But even at the beginning of the second one, I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this.
Do
Like,
you
what are we doing?
do you remember what about them freaked you out so much?
There was one scene, yeah. I There's one scene, and it actually I think it is from the second one, but and it's this one gremlin at a in a movie theater, and they're in a he's they had like the candy displays with the popcorn and stuff, and he was just like in the popcorn
Yeah.
and he was just doing stuff, and for whatever reason that was like the most terrifying thing in the world
Hmm.
to me. Like I couldn't trust popcorn anymore or
Hmm.
something.
You were
But
how old?
it was before first grade. I know it was, I don't remember when, but I remember the house that we watched it in, and
Hmm.
we lived in that house before I went
So
to
it was
first.
on VHS.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we
Okay.
didn't, my family doesn't believe in going to the theater, so we never saw anything in the theater.
So wait.
It's a whole
So
other story.
if wait, the movie theater scene is in the first one, right?
I don't remember which one it
Yeah, it's in the
is.
first one. But you
Yeah,
ended up watching the second one too, even though the first one terrified you
my
so
mom
much
watched both of them
at
together.
once in
Yeah.
one sitting.
Yes, yeah, as far as I remember, because I don't know why else I would have sat and watched the second one after seeing the first one.
So how did your mom react to your upset?
Oh, we used to, because my mom loves horror movies and wants any excuse to watch them. We used to, in the living room, have tents, and my brother had a Ninja Turtles one, and I had like I think it was My Little Pony or Barbie. I don't remember which. Oh no, it was Beauty and the Beast. I had a little Beauty and the Beast tent, and whenever we got scared during one of Mama's movies, we would go hide in our tents in the living room, and then just kind of pop our heads out when we thought it was okay again.
Oh my God. And they were set up all the time? They were always set
Yeah,
up?
I don't know if they were set up all the time, but I
But when
remember
you're
them
going to watch movies.
like we would play in the living room.
And Beauty and the Beast wasn't considered bad magic?
No, because she was evil and the spell wasn't broken through magic. It was just broken through love.
Goodness, yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me either. I don't.
I'm just trying to, yeah. It's interesting to me, even though it may not make sense. Your mom sounds like such a contradictory character. So even to this day, what noise did Crystal make that freaked you out?
She just made this like high pitched laughing noise.
Deliberately imitating gremlins, or just like for something? It just was
She
coincidental.
was deliberately imitating gremlins, but it wasn't like she knew I was scared yet.
Right,
She
right.
was
She was
just
trying to
like,
torture you.
no, it wasn't. She had no idea. Like we never talked about it. It was just something about gremlins came up, and she just kind of did the laugh real quick.
But did it
And
watching it again? Did you see anything in the movie like thematically besides just the gremlins themselves? Do you think was there some story aspect of the story or what the story might have been about that you think really got to you, or were you too young to sort of get that
I think I
aspect
was
of
too
it?
young to get the story. Like I don't. Growing up, I didn't even really remember that it was like a cute thing first, and then they turned evil.
Right.
Because he like fed them after midnight and got them wet and all that.
Gizmo didn't freak you
I
out,
think it
right?
was it was strictly the way they looked, and then just they were small, fast, had really sharp teeth, and they had this really unnerving cackle. And I think the fact that they were silly scared me even more.
Oh, that's
Kind of like
interesting.
the Joker claws, were scary
Oh, that's
because they were like
interesting.
crazy,
Right.
and that made them scarier to me. It's like it's not the cold, calculating,
Right, right.
intelligent monster. It's the chaotic evil.
Right, right. Oh, that's so interesting.
And yeah, that just terrified me as a child.
So,
Yeah.
okay, so moving forward, what would you say your all-time, I know this is an impossible question, but your all-time favorite horror movie? And that's not necessarily the best horror movie you've ever seen because I think that's a different thing. Well,
Yeah,
you know what?
there definitely is actually. And I have two answers because I think the best horror film, me and Crystal constantly say, is Rosemary's Baby. But my favorite horror film, oh God, this actually isn't a scary movie, but I watch it every Halloween. Ernest Scared Stupid. I even watched it
Oh,
this year.
oh, I thought you were kidding when you said that you watched Ernest Scared
No,
Stupid
I
every
am
Halloween.
serious. I watch that movie every year. I love it so much. It's just so ridiculous. And I don't know. I grew up on Ernest too, so there's kind of a love there. Like I watched all his movies when I was a little kid.
I've never
But
seen any of them. So, is
I
Scared?
was in that right age market. Like I talked to people who were like 5 years older than me and 5 years younger, and none of them know him. But my
Right.
age people, they're like, "Oh yeah, Ernest is the best."
So, is Scared Stupid like a Halloween version of
hmm
Ernest?
Yeah, he summons trolls and then has to fight them with milk and being ridiculous. It's
With
just
milk.
yeah,
So,
there's um a thing. They're like allergic to milk. These trolls are, but he the sacred text is kind of smudged, and he can't figure out what it is, so he thinks it's Miak, and so there's this big long spiel about him getting authentic Indian Miak or whatever, and I don't know. So now even me and Crystal both, anytime we're going to get groceries, instead of writing milk, we always write Miak.
so Crystal likes it too.
She liked it when she was a kid. I don't think if she watched it again now, she would still like it. But yeah, she watched it when she was a kid and loved it.
But you still enjoy watching
Oh,
it.
I watch it every year. I love that movie so much. It's just I really love silly and whimsical, but with the darker undertones. So it's stuff like that
And
gets me.
it,
And which is why my boyfriend is like, "Why don't you love Gremlins?"
right, it's the same.
Because
It's
that's
so
the perfect
similar,
movie for
right?
you. And now that I watched it again, I'm like, "Oh yeah, well, not so much Gremlins 1, but Gremlins 2. That's totally a me movie."
Hmm. And then what about Rosemary's Baby? Why do you and Crystal think it's the best horror movie of all time?
It's not necessarily the best at everything it does, but it's amazing at everything it tried to do. Like there isn't really a failure except maybe her haircut. That's like the only failure in the whole movie.
Why do you think that's a failure?
Which just looks awful on her.
Well, I think
Which
that's
I love pixie cuts. Don't get me wrong. I think they're amazing. But on her, she just looks. It just adds to her looking sickly, which I guess is what they were going for.
Yeah, I've heard different interpretations of the haircut. I think some people it makes her more boyish. Some people said it makes her more infantile, or or
It de-
sicker.
it definitely adds like a helplessness to her,
Yeah,
and I mean that's around the time that she's trying to look more sickly and more sickly, so they're not letting the haircut help her.
yeah,
Like, so I don't know, it's just really bad. And like when I see other pictures of her not in the film with that haircut, I'm like, oh, it's okay.
yeah, yeah,
They like the way they dressed her, the way they were just making her look sickly. I'm like, you look awful.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's definitely. I saw it on Blu-ray on a big screen when it was too, when it's like too defined,
Hmm.
and you could see like a line literally of green makeup on her face in that scene, in that
Oh
party
wow.
scene, which you wouldn't see on a normal
Yeah.
definition, but it's like it was so obvious it kind of looked ridiculous. So, so what if you had kids, what would be the first horror film or scary movie you would show them? Or and what age do you think?
As kids, Ernest Scared Stupid and Ghostbusters.
You're like, well, why are you even asking? It's
Yeah.
obvious.
But as kind of like teenagers, probably something like Evil Dead or Dead Alive.
Really?
Teenagers love over the top, and Evil Dead is still kind of ridiculous, but it's really dark. It's really fun. I really love the Evil Dead series too, especially Army of Darkness.
And you saw those when you were a teenager?
I saw the first Evil Dead when I was a teenager. Um, it wasn't until college that I even knew there were sequels.
Mm.
And then I immediately like actually no it was my senior year I discovered the sequels, because then by college I had this massive Army of Darkness poster in our mine and Crystal's dorm room. So no, it was high school.
And what movie now you could watch and really be terrified? Maybe not to the level of that Gremlins terror, but like, what do you think would either that you've seen or that you've heard about that you really wouldn't want to put yourself through now?
There are certain movies that do get to me occasionally. Not many of them last though. Like I mean, a lot of movies have like the boo jump scares and stuff
Yeah,
like that, and it's like really scary when you're watching it. But then when you're driving home or when you're lying in bed at night,
you're
like
not thinking
they
about
don't
it.
they don't think. There are a few movies that did last with me, um, probably because they hit that demon or ghost note. Because that's something that back home they believe in it, and and I've talked about this too. Like the reason why I like fairy tales so much is when someone truly believes in it, regardless if it's real or not, it adds a real element to it. And I don't know, their belief in it makes it stronger, I
Hmm.
guess. So a lot of fairy tales and stuff like that I really love, because people really believed some of these. Not all of them, like Grimm's fairy tales they didn't believe, but a lot of old folklore like Baba Yaga, stuff like that. People believed in that, and that gave it a power of its
Hmm.
own.
Yeah.
So the demons and the ghost stories and stuff like that do kind of resonate more with me, because that's the one that I know the most. So movies like Paranormal Activity really got to me
Really?
for a long time.
Oh, that's interesting. The
And
first one.
especially like yeah, the first one. And when I saw it, I was living alone in an apartment with just me and my cat, and I had neighbors, but I found out later that somebody was stealing my cable. But I would hear
you. I'm sorry. That's just so funny.
scratching and stuff.
What? What?
Like right after I watched the movie, I would hear like scratching and stuff, and like
Oh my
like what is happening?
God. Somebody
Like,
was stealing your
I was
cable.
convinced that the demon came and it was coming to get me.
Maybe that's all those the demons of paranormal activity want. They just want to use your cable, or they just.
In most cases, that's always what ghost stories do. And that's one thing I really like The Conjuring too. That
Mhm.
the new one,
But
and I just
did it really disturb you?
it didn't.
Because I mean, if the film's touching on all the things that you really enjoy, it seems to me that those would be the ones you'd really.
Well, I really enjoyed it. That one didn't last with me, but I was gonna say, the Ghost Hunters, they actually say like, oh, this is just you have a loose gasket in this steam, whatever, which is causing this your boards to shake because the steam is hitting them and stuff like
Right.
that. So, I mean, I like that they showed the rational explanation
I
to
don't
all
even
this.
remember that, but yeah, okay.
It's the very, very beginning.
Yeah.
Um, but no, another movie that actually did last with me was The Babadook. Did you watch
Really? Did I
just
what?
the, just the creepiness of it? It wasn't like a super like boo scary movie,
No.
but it had a lot of like really creepy moments where it's like, you know, like that shadow you see in the background. All of a sudden, like the hands creep down from the shadow, and you're like, oh, that's Babadook. Like, so it had a lot of those moments where he's just in the background and you don't necessarily notice him unless you're paying attention. So that stuff sticks with me.
Hmm.
Because then when I'm lying in bed at night looking in my closet and I see that coat, I'm like,
Right, right, right.
like, so I mean, I really like, I guess creepy stuff I like more than like visceral or anything else just because creepy lasts to
That's
me.
interesting. Because I know Brady likes the viscera for
Yeah, he does.
sure.
And I do too.
Yeah.
But it doesn't stick with me, which is funny
So
because viscera it should stick, but no.
no, no, yeah, it's just thrill. I mean, it's just like an intense wash of like adrenaline, but then yeah, it's like
So
it's spaghetti or that it's not. It's all just visual sensation, but and it seems like all of the films you've talked about, um, except maybe for Gremlins, but most of them have been about homes, and domestic spaces. That seems to be a big
yeah,
part of your
that probably has a lot to do with grow upbringing too.
with the
Um,
old house you lived in.
I mean, our house, the house that I grew up in, was like 100 years old.
Well, for this country, that is old.
Yeah,
Um,
and it was like an old coal mining house. It had like the really creepy basement with the coal chute that like went underground.
what do you mean a coal mining house?
There were certain like I don't know exactly what they are, but everybody always says they're coal mining houses, but they have generally like our basement and our next door neighbor basement and I think another basement all connected through little they weren't big enough to crawl through, but they were
Mm-hmm.
like coal chutes.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know because I don't think there was coal mining anywhere near me, but they always call them coal mining houses.
Well, did
Um,
it? Is that how the places were heated?
I don't know if they were connected that way or if but I know the three houses on our street were connected via the basement.
Oh, that's interesting.
And they had and the front of them looked like it just looked like a furnace opening, but all it would be was for coal. It wasn't for anything else, and it has a little belt on it that you can like crank to twist so like the coal goes through house to house. I don't know if it was like maybe they were all owned by a corporation and so they all shared I don't really know. I know our
Hmm.
house used to be townhouses. um the house
That's
we grew up in
interesting.
was a connection of two townhouses and then they tore down the middle wall and just made it one house. um but the houses beside us were the same thing and they all had that same conveyor, so when you're down in the basement there's always sounds that come
My
from it.
God, that sounds really creepy.
And then it's just a creepy, dark, like long dungeon because the houses aren't like right beside each other. It's not like a normal neighbor like we
Right,
had.
right.
So it's
Really?
a long
Wow.
distance. But yeah, it was always extra creepy in our basement. A lot of my nightmares originate from the basement of the house I grew up.
Of actually being down there, or just
Yeah,
thinking about being down there.
just thinking about being down there.
Yeah, that does
It was
sound
very, and
scary.
we had like a well in our basement that had no water in it. It was
Oh
just this
boy.
creepy well, like it
Oh
was
my
a
God, that's
creepy
just
house.
like a perfect setup for
I know.
every kind of horror haunting
Yeah.
ghost.
And especially the people who bought it before us were like into witchcraft.
Oh no, are
And
you
they
serious?
we had one room that was completely painted black, except there were like they painted stars on the ceiling and then they put paint on their feet and had like feet print that went into a spiral
What?
on the floor.
You're
Yeah. In the
kidding
house I
me.
grew up in. And it was such a thick like a bright black paint. It took us several times of painting it for the black not to seep through. which of course that led to many legends of our house, but really it was just we were using bad paint and it wasn't like the other black paint just kept seeping through.
What kind of a design? This that's just so unbelievable.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But that's, I mean, you hear a gazillion stories like that in the South. That's just
Well,
commonplace.
wait, do you mind telling me which state we're talking about?
Tennessee.
Tennessee. Wow. So do you still believe any of this stuff?
Um, I want to believe.
Isn't that the catchphrase from a TV show?
It's X-Files.
Yes,
Yeah,
I know, I know.
that's how I feel. But like, I'm kind of reaching that point where no, I don't anymore. But I really want to.
Hmm.
Um, and that's kind of, I think that's also spurred my reinvigoration passion for horror, just watching more and more and more. But I don't know, I'm reaching the point where I don't really believe in fairy tales anymore.
But you,
But I
um,
want to.
but do you know? But do you, it sounds like you enjoyed growing up in the old house and all of the on some level it was scary, but at the same time you enjoyed it. It sounds like a rich culture in a way to
Yeah,
grow up in.
yeah, it was interesting. I mean, I definitely while I was living there, I wasn't as in love with it.
Yeah.
I used to have a lot of nightmares, and it wasn't the most pleasant. But now that I'm not there anymore, I'm like, oh yeah, that was kind of cool.
Oh,
Now that I
but
don't have to live with it on a daily
you
basis.
didn't find it cool then.
No, no.
Wow.
Um,
Your mom didn't
yeah.
choose it because of her taste in horror, did
No,
she?
it was
Okay.
kind of. I mean, my family was pretty broke, and because of that house's history, it was pretty cheap, and it was run down. It was.
Wait, you mean a history of like witchcraft going on in the house? Nobody wanted to live there, like the black room?
I mean, it was also like a really rundown, dilapidated, beaten up house, and my
Okay.
family fixed it up
Oh, good.
to
Oh,
live in it.
I'm sure
But
it's worth millions now, right?
uh,
Or if it was,
in Tennessee, everything's way cheaper, so I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
know the actual comparison. Yeah,
You're
like
right.
yeah, it's worth a pretty penny now, but that's not what they
But
sold.
but the house actually had a reputation before you moved into it?
Well, I mean, it was just because of the people who. Granted, it's because I'm from a very small town where everybody knows everybody.
Right.
Everybody knew that family and knew that they were into like crazy stuff, so it had a reputation because they knew that family. They're like, oh yeah, those guys are crazy and into like weird owl worship.
Owl worship? They were like pagans?
Yeah, there was like this huge thing about owl worship. I
That's
don't,
so
I don't know.
cool.
I don't know a lot about it because I was super young.
Yeah, yeah, right, right.
I just know what I've heard, so I don't know how much of that's true.
So would you not watch the Babadook now because you know it would creep you out?
No, I absolutely love the Babadook.
Yeah.
Um,
But is there something that you really don't wouldn't
did freak
watch?
me out so much. Like I loved it so much because it had that lasting effect on me. Whereas other movies, I watch them and then I'm like, all right, time to go to bed, no big deal.
Right.
Babadook, I went, all right, time to go to bed. I gotta close the closet.
But but is there anything that you wouldn't watch? I guess is what I mean. Like there are certain things I think I'm not going to be able to watch. Um, I don't know. I'm not in a
I'm
big hurry.
actually getting towards. It's really funny. I was talking to my boyfriend about this. After our conversation about Your Next, I've kind of had a second look on a lot of my movie choices, and I'm losing interest in mean-spirited horror.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, like after you pointed that out in Your Next, something kind of clicked in me, and I was just like, oh, yeah, you're right. And
Wow, I hope I
like
didn't
I
mean to.
suggested I Saw the Devil, and now I'm like, I kind of don't even want to watch that again.
You know, I wouldn't. Oh, you have seen it though.
I've seen it
Yeah,
before.
yeah,
I first
yeah.
saw it, I love it, but now going back to it, thinking about it like that, I'm like, I don't know if I want to watch this again.
Wow, I didn't mean to have that kind of effect. I mean,
No,
it's
I
hard
mean,
with horror though because horror it's supposed to in some ways be nasty on a certain level. It's supposed to be mean on a certain
the
level.
main thing that I really like about horror is the rising above part. Like, the rise up to adversity and face
Yeah.
it, stuff like that. And so when it doesn't really emphasize that as much as it does the mean spiritedness, I'm kind of like,
But she does kind of triumph in the end
She
of
does.
You're Next,
That was definitely
the saving grace of it.
yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
Like I just recently watched another movie because generally that would totally be my kind of movie. But I don't know. I don't know. Some things are changing with me mentally here recently or something. But I watched it and I was just like, what is wrong with this movie?
What movie was it?
It was Excision.
Ooh, it sounds ugly.
It was really big on the indie market and it's loaded with like guest appearances that really tickled me, but the movie itself was just it was the incredibly visceral, incredibly bloody, gory, just awkward.
Torture porn or?
Yeah, it pretty much was, and
Yeah.
it was really like uncomfortable to watch. But the
Mm.
thing was, it wasn't the torture part that was uncomfortable to watch. It was just the girl in her regular life was uncomfortable to watch.
Oh, see, that's
Um,
oh, that's interesting. That's always more disturbing because that's closer to real life.
yeah, and then just I mean, I called where it was going and I knew what it was gonna do and everything, but then when it actually happened, I was just like,
I didn't
I
really
don't
want.
want to watch this anymore. I'm done
Wow.
with this.
All right, I'll talk to
All
you
right,
soon.
good night.
Bye.